Hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday night, which means it's time for not Niner chatter. I do this all the time, Jesse. I need to stop this. It's the Hammer and Nails show. It's episode 22, and I'm your host, Jack Hammer. We got Jesse Naylor over there to my left, I guess, and then we also have with us a special guest tonight from Sports Illustrated, Mav Pallak. Great to have you with us, Mav. How you guys all doing?
Glad football's back.
If football is back, that is the main thing. Jack, good recovery. Andy remembered what episode it was. Even more impressed.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that. It seems like more and more as we go through these things. It's funny. It's great to have Mav on. I don't know if everybody, those of you that follow us on Twitter, Mav had a funny tweet the other day talking about Jerry Rice breaking the record of touchdowns, and his dad telling him the story about 1,000 times about how they weren't able to be there when that game finished. I laughed and I wanted to reply to that because I was at that game, and like your dad, I wasn't there to watch the final score. I left early as well. I was actually walking from the stadium up the hill because we parked up on Jamestown up on top of the hill, and we heard the roar, and my brother and I looked at each other and we both said, shoot.
It's actually my mom's favorite story to tell. She loves bragging about that story. It's not even my dad. She likes telling how she made him leave early. So
that's awesome. That's fantastic. So it's good. This is awesome because we've been talking so much about 49er football since really January, end of going back to even really in November when the season was still going. Right, we kind of didn't have anything to a whole lot to talk about because the team wasn't very good. And so now we have a rebirth, a new season upon us, and the 49ers are going into Detroit on Sunday to kick off their season, and that was kind of where we wanted to get started tonight. There was some big news yesterday, though, and Kyle Shanahan didn't really say this, but Jimmy Garoppolo came out and said he was going to be the starting quarterback this week against Detroit. So what are your thoughts?
Go ahead,
man. From the moment Trey Lance was drafted, I've kind of been on the Jimmy Garoppolo's going to start at least the first 5 weeks of the season. I said at the time, I think Lance gets that first game out of the bye week. And so I wasn't necessarily shocked by this, but I think Shanahan's going with the approach of who's going to be the guy that's going to win us this game, or is the best chance for us to win the game this week. And I think with the way the Lions are going to play defense, where they're going to be really aggressive, I think play action is going to work a lot better than normal in this game, and a lot of shovel passes will also do well. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo in this game gives them the best chance to win. That should be Shanahan's goal, is the quarterback that gives them the best chance.
Do you think it's going to be something that they it's like on a week-to-week basis, or you think it's a situation where it's going to be Garoppolo until maybe a certain point in the season, and then it's going to be Lance for the rest of the way?
Well, I think after a time, I think the more Lance gets reps with the first team, I think the reps he did get with anyone that is on the first team was maybe under 100 in the preseason. I think most of the time it was with maybe one or two guys that are going to be playing this Sunday. So that will help in the future. But I just think having Garoppolo this week, and then if he struggles against the Lions, then that's really telling because their defense is not great. But if it gets to the point like where he's not good against the Lions, gets to week 3, he's not good against the Packers, then I think you have to make that change.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for me, obviously, I was wrong. I said it all offseason. As soon as he was drafted, he would start week 1. That was not the case. But, the writing was on the wall, right? And you and I talked about this, Jack. I felt like it really came down to that Charger game. They were hoping, or at least giving Lance, I wouldn't necessarily say hope, but they gave Lance a chance to take it from Jimmy. And he just didn't do that. And it was basically that game or as soon as that game was over, that I'm like, all right, got to concede. Jimmy's going to start. It is what it is. And at this point, I don't really have a prediction of when it may change hands. I don't have a feeling on it. I'm not going to say something just to say it. The bye week seems like a clean break, Mav. But who knows? If they're winning, if they start out the way that I think they're going to start out, I think the first 3 are wins for sure. And then after that, if they can win one of the next 2, they're 4-1 going into the bye week. I don't know if it's necessarily the best idea to start Lance on primetime TV, DeForest Buckner's return to San Francisco. So, they may keep him on ice for a while, and it is what it is. As long as they're winning, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of with you, Jesse, in terms of Trey Lance starting. There's there's things about him starting that I would really like, and I think like this is a game. Mav, you talked about the running game kind of being important in this game, right? And so in some ways, I would say start Trey Lance because of that, because that dimension he brings as an extra runner. But I can, either way, I'm not upset with Jimmy Garoppolo being the starter. Garoppolo's looked like Jimmy Garoppolo, right, so far, and so I hope he goes out and just blows the lid off of the thing, quite frankly, because of all the stuff that I've said. I hope he makes me look like a big dummy, right? Because I was saying, going back to the Seattle game when he did poorly in the Seattle game and got pulled out the last time, that they should move on from him. And so they stuck with him. And now I want to see him go out and prove me wrong and lead this team to back to the NFC Championship game again this year. So, it's as far as when I look at this, I don't think it's a bad idea. What happens here is that I think Shanahan, when he's going to make that move to Lance, it's got to be on a full-time basis, and it's got to be where Lance is going to start from that point forward. You can't play that back and forth game, otherwise you start looking like Mike Singletary back in those days. That bad, because you don't know who the quarterback is and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know. Let me ask you this, Mav. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think if I said over under 6.5 snaps this week for Trey, would you go over or under?
The only reason why I think over is because I think they're going to be up 20 on the Lions in the fourth quarter, and that's where I think the over would go. But if you're talking like the dual system quarterback thing, I'd say under in that sense.
See, I'm with you on that one. I just don't think that they're going to unleash him the way that a lot of 49er fans expect or even hope, right? I think what we saw in the Raider game is the furthest thing from the actual truth of what we're going to see. Maybe you see some 3rd and 1. Maybe you see some, red zone packages, that type of stuff inside the 5. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Trey Lance. That's my personal thought on it.
Yeah, I would go ahead, Mav.
Oh, the one thing I just keep thinking about with Trey Lance is that I go back to that first Kaepernick season where he got hot and no defense knew how to stop him. What he did to Green Bay in the playoffs, there was just no film to go off of because he was starting less than that was like his 8th career start at that point. So just to me, if Lance is really truly going to be awesome once he gets in the lineup and Jimmy Garoppolo can get you 6 wins out of the first 8 games, if that's when you go to Lance, that's going to be really hard for playoff defenses to know how to stop him. How is Todd Bowles going to stop him? How are the Seahawks going to stop him when you have no evidence on how to do that against Trey Lance? That's one thing. And that's a big brain way next thing. Like you got to focus week to week, obviously, but I'm not as worried about Lance getting in there week 1 as some.
Yeah. I think I was asked this question today. I think the over under, if that was the number you gave me, Jesse, I'd go over. I think he's going to play, about maybe 10 snaps. And I wasn't thinking the way you're thinking, Mav, as far as those snaps coming towards the end. I'm thinking you're going to see him in some red zone situations, and you might even see him in some situations in the middle of the field on like seconds and shorts and stuff like that, where he can just come in. I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to like what the Raiders game was, because you got, but I would say if he can get 10 snaps in the flow of the game in certain situations, that would be about right. That's kind of like what we saw out of Kaepernick, I think, in 2012.
Yeah, and Mav, I'm completely with you on this. I was talking yesterday with Grant, and I said something similar. I said, I felt like if Lance starts by week 10, that there's just not going to be enough film out there for him. It should be enough to get him in the flow of things. And that's a Lance-led team that I think actually could go to a Super Bowl, to where if Jimmy is the starter all year and goes into the playoffs, there's so much film out on Jimmy. Everybody knows his strengths and his weaknesses. I wouldn't be shocked if they got bounced in the wild card round. So I'm with you. I think not having a lot of film on him can be a good thing as long as he's playing really well come playoff time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have a question here. There's a couple of them, but I want to take this one first since it goes along with our topic. How many picks does Jimmy have to have before we're going to see Lance?
I don't think it comes down to picks per se. I mean, this almost seems like a frustrated statement. Like, come on, we've seen enough from Jimmy. Why are we not playing Lance? But, I don't think it comes down to picks. I think it comes down to if he's throwing picks and they're boneheaded picks, meaning they're inside the red zone or he's backed up inside his 10 and it's giving a lot of points. that's where I think it becomes an issue. If he just throws a couple picks, throughout the first few games, I don't think that's necessarily going to get him pulled, as long as they're winning and they're not the biggest boneheaded picks you've ever seen. But the moment he starts costing the team games potentially, that's when it becomes an issue.
100% agree. I think of the Minnesota wild card or divisional round game, those type of interceptions, what he did against Miami last year. I think that those are the boneheaded interceptions you're talking about, where if those happen, that's when you probably start thinking about a change. But if it's 20-3 and he throws a Hail Mary at the end of the half and it gets picked, I don't think that's like, oh, he hit the number of 5 interceptions this year, he's benched.
Right.
It context, definitely the boneheaded ones are what will get him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be – I think we're going to see him have to really play bad for him to be replaced, and that's like you guys are saying. It's going to have to be just the boneheaded throws. They're going to have to lose some games. The whole thing, and really going back to the question as far as why is Garoppolo starting, if that was the question, is I think there's he has the locker room behind him, so there's some politics at play here. And so he needs to be playing poorly to where he's costing games maybe for everybody else to be ready for somebody to take over. At least that's kind of what I'm thinking, maybe a little bit here too. So until they start losing games because of Garoppolo, I think that we see Lance start. Because even when it was Alex Smith in the Kaepernick situation, it was an injury that took him out. It wasn't because he was playing poorly. Because if you remember that season, I think they lost to the Giants at home. And right around that time that they lost to that Giants game, that's when the people started calling for benching Smith. But then he came back and had some really good games before getting hurt. So that's how I think it'll play out with that piece. You guys want to jump over to a new topic?
Yeah, let's. You want to address that other question?
I was gonna get to. There was a question from Josh. I was gonna get to that one. I was thinking we'd get to that during the defensive segment because he's talking about the defense.
Okay,
so it's still there.
Right.
And we don't have the comments aren't coming in too hot and heavy quite yet.
Okay. I just don't want you to lose it.
No, I won't. Let's just do it right now. Since we just got done talking some offense, we can start on the defensive side first.
Okay.
So what defensive player do you guys think will have the biggest impact in the game on Sunday?
Ooh, go ahead, Mav.
I think the Lions have to run the ball a lot. We should be pretty familiar with Jared Goff and his limitations, and especially just looking at the Lions wide receiver core. Outside of Hawkinson, the tight end, I'm not really threatened by any of those guys. So I think Eric Armstead in run defense, playing that end spot, having to seal the edge off on DeAndre Swift. If he plays, I know there's weird stuff with him on Twitter today. So if he's playing, or Jamal Williams, and then Jamar Jefferson, the Oregon State rookie, those are 3 solid backs. And that's the way the Lions will win, is if the 49ers turn the ball over on offense and they rush for 170 yards. I think that's the only way the Lions can really beat the Niners on Sunday.
Like that.
Yeah, I like that too. I'm going to go similar. The game's going to be one in the trenches, right? The 49ers want to run the ball. The Lions want to run the ball. There's no secrets here. I'm going to go DJ Jones. I think DJ Jones can clog up the middle. I also think he can get some interior pressure, and I think that he can be a difference maker. So I'm going to go with a little bit of an unsung hero and say DJ Jones can be that guy to disrupt things along the defensive line.
That's a good one, because that's actually where I was going to go. I hadn't thought about Armstead, but you guys took 2 really good ones. I'm going to kind of stick with that. I'm going to stick with the run stopping. I'm going to go away from the defensive line though, and I'm going to go Fred Warner. Fred Warner has to have a big game in this one, and for a couple of reasons. You just mentioned, both of you have mentioned the run stopping. He's going to have to be able to stick his nose in there and make some really good hits in the run game. But also, Mav, you mentioned Hawkinson, and I think he's probably their second best receiver, second best receiving threat. And Warner, if he can shut him down, that's just another person that's going to be taken off the field for the Lions and taken away from what they can do. So that would be, look at Fred Warner. That's an easy one because he's an All-Pro, right?
Yeah, but I think it's a good point because Hawkinson he's going to be the primary receiver, right? So, Warner definitely has to play well when it comes to his run fits and things like that. But yeah, taking away Hawkinson would be huge. Then what? Because this receiving core might be the worst in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, in building off that, just Fred Warner having to play run defense. Anthony Lynn, last year's offensive coordinator, was with the Bills in 2016, second most rush attempts in the NFL. most rushing yards. LaShawn McCoy was the back that year. He had 50 receptions also. So Warner might have to get those swing passes to Swift, Jamal Williams. Think about that Rams interception. Warner had the pick six on Goff. I could see that happening again this week.
Okay.
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And even who knows what's going to happen with Javon Kinlaw. He was limited in practice today, but he was out there at least. So, if he does play and he does go, you'd expect him to probably play a pivotal role in that run defense as well, because that's really his forte is the run stopping.
Yeah.
The run stopper. And obviously the pass rush is going to be killer, I think. So Josh had a question here. Wanted to get to that one. He asks, using the head, not your heart, do we think the defense will have more or less turnovers than in 2019 when they had 27? Keep in mind there's more than one game. So will they have 27 turnovers or more this season?
So Josh and I were talking on Twitter earlier. He said he had this super chat ready to roll. He didn't tell me what the question was, but he said he was ready for one. So this is a very good question. I'm going to go over. And in order for it to be over, the secondary is going to have to stay relatively healthy, because this secondary is built for this team to play cover one, do a lot more blitzing, and be very aggressive. And the Niners defense in 2019 was not an aggressive defense, right? They had playmakers all over the field, and that's why they were able to get those turnovers. But it wasn't an aggressive, high blitz type defense. And I think this year it will be, barring, the injury of some of those pieces in the secondary. Again, if a Josh Norman ends up playing, then you're going cover 3, cover 4. But as it sits now, the players that are in place, I think it's going to be a lot of cover 1. I think it's going to be a lot of blitzing. And that means a lot of mistakes by opposing quarterbacks, especially when you couple that with a defensive line that can get at your neck. So I'm going to go with over.
You sticking with the over there, Mav?
Yeah. I my one reasoning is I wonder if teams just don't target Fred Warner at all in the passing game. I know I just said I think he gets an interception this weekend, but we've seen that he's a really good pass cover linebacker. So, and I feel like he's one of the better interceptors or better ball hawks on this team, even though he's a linebacker. So that's my one hesitation. But I'd also go over just the one extra game. I think they play a lot less talented quarterbacks than they did last season. I think they have a chance, especially against Houston later in the year. That might be Davis Mills, and who knows what the rookie does in that game. I think they have more chances to get picks this year.
Yeah, that's a really good point on the quarterbacks. So going through the list of games, there's some bad quarterback play, especially these first 2 weeks of the season. Goff and then Jalen Hurts. They could come out of those 2 games with 6 or 7 just right off the bat when you look at it, just the first 2 weeks into the season. So I would go over as well. I like what both of you have said. Super aggressive defensive line, Fred Warner in the middle, sprinting all over the field. The pick off a couple of balls and the way that the coverage is going to be on the back end. I think we're probably going to see 28, 29, maybe up to 30. So definitely go with the over on that if you're betting in Vegas. That's my line for you guys. Take it. Let's jump back into the offensive side of the ball now. For the 49ers to win, which offensive player is going to be having the biggest impact for the 49ers?
Raheem Mostert. It's got to be one of those running backs. The 49ers are going to have to run the ball. And that's where I think the weakness is for the Lions. I believe that defensive line, they're running a 3-4 this year. So I believe that defensive line is actually pretty stout. Lee McNeil, I know, Mav, you've talked about him. You had him in an article. I brought him up the other day. And I think he's a beast. But the 49ers don't rely on beating you up the gut. They're going to stretch you horizontally and make you win that way. They're going to put your linebackers in conflict. And I just don't trust the linebackers for the Lions. And I think ultimately they will give in, and Mostert's going to have one of those long runs, maybe a couple touchdowns, what have you. Just by virtue of being the starting back, I think that he has to be the guy that is going to have the biggest impact if this team's going to win.
100%. Raheem Mostert, JaMychal Hasty, I think this weekend we'll have big games. Trey Flowers is one of those outside linebackers. And to me, I always pictured him as an inside guy on a 3-4, but he's playing outside linebacker. I don't think he's fast enough to get a Raheem Mostert stretch run or a toss or a hasty run. I don't think either middle linebacker for the Lions, Alex Anzalone or Jamie Collins, are fast enough to get that. So I could see a New York Jets style touchdown run for Raheem Mostert this this weekend. I don't think the safeties are physical enough for Jermichael Hasty and on those runs. And plus, if Trent Williams gets to the next level, he'll take out those linebackers pretty easily, I think. So I'd go whichever running back gets over 10 carries.
So you're really saying that you think it's going to be Trey Sermon then?
Oh, you're saying Sermon?
No, but I agree with you. I think you guys are on the right track, but I'm going to go in a different direction since you guys already took the running backs, just to kind of mix it up here a little bit. But I'm going to say Deebo Samuel, and I'm going to say Deebo Samuel for some of the things that you guys have talked about, the lack of speed maybe from the linebacker position. He has that ability to give him the ball like on a little screen pass off to the side, give him the ball on a jet sweep and those kind of things, stretch him out wide. So he has that ability to get out there as well, force those guys to run sideline to sideline. That's really what you're trying to do with him quite a bit. And with Garoppolo in at quarterback, I think that's what we see mostly with him anyway. So I'm going to go Deebo Samuel as being the offensive player that's going to have the biggest impact here in Week 1. He's going to have a big day. I'm
surprised none of us went with Kittle.
Kittle would have made sense too for looking at the linebackers, right? Them trying to cover him, and if they're not going to be able to hold on. I was going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo as well. I want to see Garoppolo ball the heck out and have the best game of his career so far. He hasn't really been a very good Week 1 quarterback. Right around like 264, or it's actually 233 is like his average. Last year was at 264. I want to see him go for 3 bills on Week 1. I think that would just. I want to see. Here's the thing with me. I like to see people who have been getting kicked down all off season. I like to see when those people come back, and I know I'm one of the guys that's been kicking them down. So, like I said, I want to see him come out and make me look like a fool, and make the guys that are in our comment section who keep ripping Jimmy Garoppolo look the same way.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this: What do you think Jimmy's stat line is going to be on Sunday?
He's going to throw. Well, if here's the thing, he's averaged 31 passes in the 3 games that he's played under Shanahan in an opening week. They've thrown the ball 31 times on average. So hopefully he's going to be below that. So I would like to see his stat line be somewhere around like 16 to 25 for 250, a couple of touchdowns, and no interceptions. If we can do that.
We're on the same wavelength. I'm going 16 to 24, 224 yards, a touchdown, and 0 picks. But with the caveat of 2 of those balls could have been picked, and no completions beyond 10 yards, or no more than 2 completions beyond 10 air yards.
I think they unleash Jimmy at least 1 or 2 times because to me, I know Shanahan doesn't like toying, or I think he likes toying with the media, and I think although he's not on social media, he's seen how everyone's been complaining Jimmy can't throw deep. So I don't know if he completes it, but I think he keys up a couple, especially with a rookie nickel corner and 2. I'd say underperforming corners on their outside in Armani Aruwai, I believe is how you pronounce it, and Jeff Okudah. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I shouldn't have tried that.
But Jeff Okudah on the right side. I'm excited for the battle of top picks in 2020. Okudah versus Ayuk. I want to see that a little bit.
That's good. Okudah, yeah, I'm curious to see it. I think that they're going to play a little bit of a zone defense this year. I don't know if it's going to be 3 or 2, what their base defense is going to be, but I would expect that, they're going to put him in better positions. Okudah's pretty good, and I hope he bounces back for that fan base's sake.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a fun game. I want to see a lot of different things because he's been out there watching these guys, and I know they've been holding them back. There's been a lot of stuff that's been held back during this preseason. I'm kind of waiting to see some of the stuff get unleashed. That's how kind of where I am with it.
Absolutely.
Where do you guys think the game's going to be decided? What do you think is going to determine the outcome of this thing?
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
You touched on it earlier. The trenches. I think the Lions, outside of Frank Ragnow at center, the highest paid center in the NFL, their guards are underwhelming in my opinion. Halapoulivaati Vaitai, I got that one right. At right guard and Jonah Jackson at left guard. I think DJ Jones, Zach Kerr, Eric Armstead on the inside. Armstead, especially on passing downs. I'm excited to see that. If Kinlaw is able to go, I think this would be a favorable matchup for Kinlaw to kind of get a couple sacks and get some momentum. But if he's out, I think they just have to own that middle, because the Lions, like I said, need to run for a lot of yards to win this game. Goff's not throwing for 250 yards. So if they run all over this defensive line, which I think is one of the strengths of this 49ers team, that'd be pretty shocking.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be in the trenches. And you've got two quarterbacks. Not only do you have two teams that want to run the ball, but you have two quarterbacks that have built careers off play action passing. So if you don't get the run game going, or you don't at least attempt to establish it, you've got no shot for either of these guys. So it's got to be down in the trenches. Again, the Lions have got two pretty good running backs. They went ahead and drafted first round offensive line, second round defensive line, third round defensive line. So they know what they're doing there. They're building in the trenches out. And we know that the 49ers bread is buttered along that defensive line. So it's got to be in the trenches.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to have to be those guys up front on both sides of the ball, because the defensive line, I think the defensive line should be able to dominate this game for the 49ers, especially even Penei Sewell. I know he was a highly high draft pick and somebody that everybody really had a high hopes for, but he's really struggled, and it's tough going from one side to the other on the offensive line. He didn't play last year. Now you're switching him to the other side. We're seeing the 49ers have that same issue with Aaron Banks as well, moving from the left side of Notre Dame over to the right side. And this guy's got to start and take on, Nick Bosa and D Ford and who else, right? And Samson Ebukam. So I think the 49ers have a distinct advantage on the edge, and I think along the defensive line as a whole, and even on the offensive side as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Alex Mack can do, because it looked really good for a series there against Las Vegas in that last preseason game. So I want to see that and how that plays out for the whole game. That's what we have there. All right, let's jump into some predictions. Prediction time. This is always fun.
Mav, you go ahead. You go with your score prediction first.
I have to grab my score. I believe I have 34-18 49ers. I think we see a missed extra point on the Niners side, and I think the Lions get that 2-point conversion at the end to make it 34-18. But I do think Trey Lance gets some snaps in the fourth quarter, because I think Niners are going to run all over him. I think there's going to be a completed deep pass. And although I have high hopes for Dan Campbell, I think he's going to be a really good coach, and this team's going to surprise people in 2022. I don't think they have the personnel to do what they want to do yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really like what the Lions are building there. I love the coaching staff from top to bottom. A lot of ex-players. They've got Burnell. They've got Aaron Glenn. They've got Deuce Staley. So there's a lot of cool things that they're working on over there. And, I'm excited to see their future. But, the NFL, or Vegas rather, knows what they're doing, right? And when they lay 7.5 points and they say over under 45, I think everybody's rushing to bet on over 45 and the 49ers covering 7.5. That's why I've got a little bit of intrepidation about it. The 49ers offense tends to start out slow, or Shanahan's offense rather tends to start off slow. So I'm going to go 24-17. Lions cover the spread under the 45. And I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be super close, right? I could see a situation where the Lions score late to make the game seem closer on paper. But from mid-third quarter on, I think that the 49ers at that point have established their dominance, and they're winning the game pretty handily, and maybe the Lions score late to make it look closer.
It's interesting because Kyle Shanahan, he's been in the league for 13 years, and, with the 49ers for 4. So in 4 seasons with the 49ers, they're averaging 14 points a game. The most points they've scored in a season opener was last year when they scored 20. And over the course of his career, he's at 19.3. So, but he has a couple of good ones. The first game in 2012 with RG3, he put up 40. That's the most. So I'm going to stick though on the lower side. I think this game's going to be closer than we think. I think I'm going to say 49ers 20, Detroit 16, in a game that maybe isn't quite that tight of a game. Maybe, it's a 20-10 game until the second half, and there's a couple field goals that pull it close and late or something like that. But I'm going to go 20-16, a little bit tighter game than we're expecting. 49ers going to run the ball a lot, so the time's going to be going off the clock quickly. At least we hope they do. If both teams are trying to run the ball, this should be a fast game. So I'm going to say 2016.
Okay.
All right. So we still got a little bit of time left. Let's jump into some season predictions. Do you guys want to go game by game real quick and try to get that done in 15 minutes?
Let's do it. I think we can get it done in 15. Let's go.
All right. So we're going to go. Well, we already said week 1. We're all going 49ers over the Lions.
Yep.
We got that one. So now we're going to head out to Philadelphia, city of brotherly love. Who wins that one?
49ers. 49ers win that game, right?
Yeah, I have the 49ers. I'm a little interested in defending a running quarterback because I know that's been an issue in years past, but it's a new defensive coordinator. So I'm curious, but I think they win.
Yep. I'm with you guys on that one. Do you have something, Jesse?
No, I'm in agreement. You know, what's crazy is you look at this schedule for the 49ers, there's a lot of running quarterbacks on that schedule. And I'm curious to see how much seeing Trey Lance on that team during the offseason actually helps, right? D'Amico Ryans talked about it, about how much Trey Lance has helped him get ready for things like that. And so I'm curious to see not only there, but throughout practice and what have you throughout the season, how often they're able to see him and how much that ends up helping things. And then again, how much that aggressive defense can help things. So curious to see how they corral quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, there's that, and then also throw in Samson Ebukam, who's really good at chasing down those running quarterbacks. He's did a really good job of that when he was in LA with the Rams. So yeah, I think that could help him out a little bit this year too. And then we go to week 3, the home opener against the Packers.
Go ahead, Mav.
I think without David Bakhtiari, that helps the 49ers. The Packers, I believe, are starting 2 rookies on the offensive line, so I think that helps a little more. I say they win, but I think Jimmy's going to have to throw for 3 touchdowns for them to win.
Okay. Yeah, I actually think this is going to be way more lopsided than what people thought. You know, even if Bakhtiari was going to play, I don't see how Green Bay has addressed anything to help them stop the run. They proved that in 2019, they had no chance at stopping that run. Last year, their kryptonite was again the running game against Tampa Bay. And I just haven't seen that improvement. Now that Bakhtiari's out, I think it gets even worse. I think this is a much bigger point separation than what it is in week 1 against Detroit. I think the 49ers win that handily. You know, NFL is all about matchups, and I just think it's a horrible matchup for Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think the 49ers win this one. The 49ers have matched up really good with Green Bay going even back to 2018 when C.J. Beathard started quarterback on that Monday night game they played. That was a tight game. They came down to Rodgers having to make a big play at the end against some poor guy. I don't even know who that guy was.
Greg Maben.
There you go, Greg Maben, at cornerback. And then even last year when they had all those guys out, I know they ended up getting blown out, but I think, that was a game that was a little bit tighter earlier on than I think even anybody thought. I mean, Nick Mullins took him right down the field, and they had a touchdown except for River let the ball slip out of his hands. It was kind of a little bit of, a rapid thing going through his hands there. But then we move on to week 4, and we've got Seattle at home.
I think the 49ers keep it rolling.
3-0 right now, right? We're 3-0.
3-0, yep, 3-0. I think the 49ers keep it rolling. I think at home, I think they're going to split with Seattle, and I would expect that they win the home game. So I'm going to go with the 49ers to win a tight one there.
I'm going the reverse split.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to loss. Yeah, you got a loss. I think the Niners, that's the one that the 49ers win. The 49ers play them really tough at home. They play them better at Levi's. Even they've always played them. Seems like they've played Seattle tighter at home on the grass than they do up in at the Clink, or whatever that place is called nowadays. So I'm going to go 49ers winning that one as well. So they're 3-0 heading into it's Arizona week 5, correct?
Yeah, and I think this is the first loss of the season. I think obviously we know Arizona plays them tough, and I just feel like again they're going to split with Arizona. So Arizona is going to win that home game, and they'll have a loss going into the bye week.
See, I think the 49ers go into their former home and win in Arizona.
I've got this as a loss, and part of the reason is similar, kind of like last year, the week 1 loss where you had Murray running around. This will be their first challenge against a good running quarterback. I know Hurts runs around, but I don't think he's a very good quarterback. And Murray's a little bit more. Murray's got that. He's a quick twitch guy. He's going to be running around. He's going to give him a little more trouble. So I have that one as a loss. I'm not really all that confident with that pick. The more I think about it, but I'm going to go with a loss there. So I think we all have them at the same record though heading into the bye, correct?
Yeah, 4-1.
Yeah. We all have them at 4-1, and you're right, Jack. I mean, that's going to be that's their third running quarterback in their third in 4 weeks. So at that point they may as well have it figured out, and Murray doesn't get loose at all. But I'll go with a loss still.
Yeah. And then they have the bye, and they come off the bye, and it's Sunday Night Football against Indianapolis, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think this is a loss as well. So I think they book in the bye with losses. It's going to be an emotional game. Buckner's first game back. And I know that most people don't believe in Carson Wentz. I think Carson Wentz is pretty good. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. That offensive line is an absolute handful. They can run the ball. I think it's a tough matchup for the 49ers, and I'm going to go with the Colts to win that one.
I'm going with the 49ers on this one. I was debating on the Colts. I like the Buckner storyline, especially if it's Lance Wentz, then it's NDSU matchup. That'd be interesting. Also, NBC would love that. But I think the 49ers can win this game. I just don't really trust the Colts passing game, not just Wentz, but just the receivers. If T.Y. Hilton's not able to go, then they'll need Michael Pittman to be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this game really for me is probably one of the ones that I'm most excited to watch because of the physicality of these two teams. It reminds me a lot of those late 80s, early 90s 49ers Giants matchups. Like the Mark Bavaro days, the days that your dad would be able to tell you all about, Mav, as far as, Ronnie Lott, being drug, hanging onto the back of Mark Bavaro for 15 yards down the field and, like 7-3 final score on Monday Night Football, that kind of a game. That's what I see here. But I think the 49ers are going to win that. I think the difference, I think, is Carson Wentz isn't as good. He made the plays last year, but the 49ers are going to have a better quarterback on their side of the ball than they did last year when they played against him in Philadelphia. So I'm going to go 49ers in a tight one. All right. So after the Philadelphia game, now I'm starting to lose track of the schedule. Who do they play after the
at Chicago?
Game? Oh, at Chicago. So isn't this we're getting close to Halloween now, right?
Yeah, I think this is the Halloween game. I have it up. 10/31. That's Halloween in Chicago.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get Trey Lance against Justin Fields then.
Hopefully. That'd be amazing. What a Halloween game. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win that one. Chicago's they're just not the complete team. I know that it could be a trap game, traveling cross country, all those things, early game, whatever. I just don't think Chicago has anything for the 49ers this year.
They definitely need Fields if they want to win this game, but I think even without that, I know they have Khalil Mack and they have some good linebackers and stuff, but I don't think this secondary will be able to cover Brandon Ayuk, cover George Kittle or whatever. I think the 49ers win whichever quarterback's in. I'm
going with the Bears in this one. It's that 10 a.m. game following a late game on Sunday, so they've got to travel halfway across the country out to Chicago after playing the Sunday night game. So I'm going to go with the Bears to win this one over the 49ers.
Okay. So do you then, you have them at 3 losses then?
2. Yes. That would be 2. I think that's 2 at that point because they lost. They lost to Arizona and to the Bears. Those are the 2.
Gotcha.
So we all have them at 2 losses. Okay, so then the next game,
I'm at 1, I think.
Are you?
I just have Seattle.
Wow. Okay. Geez. All right.
Just wait the next.
So all right, here it is. Yeah. Okay. I see it coming up, Mav. All right. So November 7th at home against the Cardinals. You said a reverse sweep, so that means you have the 49ers losing this one. This is loss 2, right, Mav?
Yeah. This is the game I think Kyler Murray has a good running game. After they play the Bears, then they come back home, and then I think this is Kyler Murray's game.
Okay. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this one. What about you, Jack?
I have the 49ers winning this one. They lost the first time. They're going to take care of it at home.
Okay. And then the Rams at home the very next week. Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
I have this as a loss too, and then I think this is where Trey Lance comes in the third quarter possibly. in this scenario of my
Okay.
predictions. If they lose pretty bad to the Cardinals and then the next week are down to the Rams, I think this is where Trey might get a shot. I think they lose this game. And then plus Jacksonville the next week, that could be favorable.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this one. Again, I think they split with the Rams, but home game. Although both games feel like home games against the Rams, so who knows? So I'm going to go with this one to be a win. It's prime time, and the 49ers will win that one. But again, the schedule doing the 49ers no favors. We just talked about that Colts late game, and then you've got the Bears early game. Same thing here. They go from the late game. This is a Monday nighter, I believe, and then they go all the way across country to play the early game against the Jags, and a team that they definitely should beat, but they might be lethargic starting that game out. I think the 49ers win, but I think that game is going to be pretty close.
I agree. That's where I am on this one too. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think they win the Rams game. I didn't give my prediction there. They're going to win that game. They'll win the Jaguars, but the Jaguars are going to be close. The Rams game is going to be interesting because that's going to be part of the reason the 49ers have swept LA the last couple of years is because Goff has been so bad and he's missed so many open receivers. And so that's where this game's going to be interesting is, are they able to get away with some stuff with Matthew Stafford back there instead? But, them go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a win. So,
what about you, Mav, on that Jacksonville game?
I have Jacksonville as a win. I think the 49ers just have a better roster, and don't know if the Jags have any injuries on offense, then I think they're in trouble, because if Carlos Hyde's their lead back, I don't know if that team can move the ball at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so then the next week, the 49ers are back at home against the Vikings. I think, again, styles make matchups. I think the 49ers just match up really well with the Vikings, and I'm going to go with the 49ers to win that one. Mav, what about you?
I think the Vikings have a pretty good defense this year. This is probably my one pick that I'm probably going to change in a couple weeks, but I have the Niners winning this game for now.
Okay. And Jack?
Yeah, I have the Niners winning this one as well. And then they're up to Seattle the next week.
Yeah.
That's where it changes. I think Mav, you're going to have them winning this one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I have this is the loss for me. I think they're going to lose this one up in Seattle.
For sure. I think it's a primetime game, if I'm not mistaken. And in Seattle, that's tough billing.
Yeah, it's prime time. And then just because of the time that we have left over, so we have the Bengals, Falcons, Titans, Texans, and Rams left. How do you guys see it kind of playing out for the rest of the way? As far as, are there any losses in there?
Yeah,
I think the Titans.
Titans. That's
on Thursday Night Football.
Loss. Yes.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most unfair games I've ever seen. Derrick Henry on a short week after Kyle has to play Atlanta, which we know how the Atlanta Demons for Shanahan, and then he has to go play in Tennessee. I don't see them winning. I think Derrick Henry just is Derrick Henry.
Yeah. That the only hesitation I have is Derrick Henry is Derrick Henry, and there's only one of him, and the 49ers have four backs that they can kind of rotate through. And at that point, Wilson will also be back. So, maybe that's enough to carry them through. If Henry gets banged up in their game, I don't know what their schedule is like before this, but I assume they have a game on Sunday as well. Maybe Henry gets banged up, or he's just not able to carry the load. Maybe he had to go for 30 plus the Sunday before, and now it's Thursday. That's the only thing that I think that's the only way the 49ers have a chance to win that one, but I think that should be a scheduled loss for sure.
Yeah, I think
the Rams.
Yeah, on that one, the scheduled loss is similar. The 49ers ran into this in 2011, right? When the Ravens. I think it's the same it's the same deal. It's a long travel on a short week against a really good team, really physical team. I think it's going to be a close game in the first half, and then there's a few mistakes here and there that Tennessee is able to take advantage of to win it at the end. And then we have the Texans. I don't even know if the Texans have a quarterback.
Davis Mills, you get to see the guy. Didn't you want Davis Mills for 3 seconds, and then I feel like everyone went through a Davis Mills obsession and then just decided no way.
No, I wasn't a Davis Mills guy. I mean, I liked what I saw of him. There was definitely some positive traits to like about him, but there were too many what the heck kind of plays with him. So if he was a guy, if you told me that you could take him in the 4th round and he was going to sit for a couple of years, then maybe. But he just didn't play enough at Stanford for me to want to have him be the quarterback of the future, like the 49ers ended up getting themselves into position for.
For sure.
Yeah. So there we have it. I'm at 13-4. I don't know where you two guys ended up because we went pretty fast at the end.
12-5.
I think I'm at 13-4, but that Vikings game might change it eventually.
Okay. So do we think 13-4 gets them the home field advantage for the playoffs?
No. 13-4 might. I guess 13-4 could. Tampa Bay's got a really easy schedule this year too. So that's, they brought back all 22 starters. They brought back all of their main coaches. They're going to be tough. They're going to be tough this year. And an easy schedule, they might win 14 games themselves. So who knows?
Okay. All right. Well, I have it going. I have 13-4. I'm hoping that the 49ers get home field advantage and play the NFC Championship game at home against Tampa Bay. It'd be awesome to see Tom Brady at Levi's, the old man, coming home, maybe for his final game and taking on that I think would be fantastic theater for the NFL for that to happen.
Yeah, so maybe Bosa can, I don't know, pull Lawrence Taylor on him.
Come on now, Jesse. We don't want to hurt him. We didn't say hurt him.
Sorry. I didn't mean it.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. We got the 49ers at either between 13-4, 12-5. All three of us have the 49ers winning tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Mav, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's great to talk to you. It's been a long time since we've been able to get on a show together. So thanks for coming on and doing this tonight.
Thanks for having me. First show with Jessie also.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun, Mav. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to do it again for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then, if you like it, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Make sure you're in the comment section. All of my contact, all of my social stuff is in the description, as well as Jesse's. And Mav, I think you're only on Twitter as far as I know. I didn't put out your Facebook. I know Piner over here in the comments, he might want me to put that out so his lady can touch base. But I think that's already handled. But anyway, I hope everybody had fun. And Mav, I'm sorry, I know I just got you in trouble. So
yeah, it's all good.
have a great night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. But we will be back at you next week. A lot of fun content. I'm going to actually be on Sunday with a pregame show at 8:30 in the morning with Sunil. So have a great night, everybody, and we'll be chatting at you soon.